All right. Hello, everybody. So glad that you're here. My name's Liz Hansen, and I'm here today with Debbie Pickus, and I am so glad to be hearing about what she does. If you are watching us live, we'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you have any questions or if you just want to say hi, please drop us a line. My name's Liz Hansen. If we haven't met before, I am a boudoir photographer, and I also love to manage this community, this group of local Chicago women with the goal to empower women in all areas of their lives. And today we've got Debbie with us today. Welcome, Debbie. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to me. Yes. Well, see, I already started being weird. Thanks
You're
for having
fine. We're so
me, Liz.
glad you're here. So, Debbie, you do a lot of really cool things to empower women through your business and the work that you do. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So the long and short of it is I'm a mindset coach. But what I like to say is that I help professional women slay their mental bully and unlock their inner badass. Because so many women out there are freaking, I'm going to try not to drop F bombs. So freaking amazing. It's going to be difficult for me. So freaking amazing. And they don't really understand that the power that they have, and they don't understand how amazing they are. So when I work with them, we kind of lift the veil on a lot of things and help them to improve their lives exponentially.
This is such cool work, and I can't wait to hear more about it. Back up a little bit and tell us, how did you get into this? What's your background? How did you slay your own mental bullies to get to where you are?
Thank you for that. Still working on slaying it, sometimes we have to slay it every day. So my background originally was in retail years and years ago. And then I began taking karate through a college friend of mine. And that helped me morph into the world of fitness. So I taught at one of the big box gyms for many years in fitness. But my fitness background and my martial arts background ended up rolling me into owning a title boxing club. And then out of that business, which wasn't a great business model, the idea of doing empowering team building events that involved fitness and activity and mindset and power and confidence came out of that. And that all eventually rolled into the mindset work and the coaching work that I do that brings self-defense, martial arts, fitness, and mindset all together to help my clients become empowered.
That is so cool. So you are a martial arts master that also wants to help us master our mind.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
That is so cool.
I'm going to
I
borrow
just made
that
it
for
up
my,
right now.
my social media. Thanks, Liz. Great job.
So, so the work you do now, do you work with women primarily in person or on the internet, like online training?
Yeah, it's online mostly. I mean, I do workshops, like I've taught self-defense workshops, and I do board breaking events that are about, you know, like breaking through the barriers and things like that. So I still do a lot of that. I do a lot of speaking. I love doing that. But when I'm coaching one-on-one, that is basically online, like we do it on Zoom.
Yeah, very cool. So it's really accessible to people all over that can work with you. So tell me, okay, so you talk about slaying our inner bully. Like, tell me a little bit more about that, and why do you think women in particular struggle with this?
Well, I mean, listen, if you saw the Golden Globes the other night and you saw Demi Moore's acceptance speech, you know that even this beautiful, person, actress who's been in the business for 45 years, struggled for many years to believe in herself. So, um, when we're growing up, there is somebody in our lives, like the person who's our caregiver or a teacher or a coach or somebody. They may say certain things to us, and it's not that they're necessarily saying something that's cruel. Not, I mean, sometimes they are, but sometimes it's just a comment, right, based on their own filters. And we hear it and we make it mean X, right? When I was around 13 years old, and this happens way before the age of 13, right? It'll happen, from in the first, like, probably 5 to 7 years of your life, the first kind of comments that will happen. But I can remember getting a new raincoat, a robin's egg blue maxi coat when they first came out. I was probably in seventh or eighth grade. And my dad picked me up at school that day. And when I opened the car door, his eyebrows, he was a very fierce, kind of scary guy, right? And he's just like, "Is that a new coat?" And my brain, if first of all it was on sale, I could still think of the price tag in my mind that was like redlined and everything. But I felt it meant that I didn't deserve new things or nice things. Right.
Mm, mm.
And then as the years went on, there's another, and my dad was not a horrible human, but he was just old school. Right. But years
And you
later,
can still remember that
oh, yeah.
feeling like you deserve to have a new coat.
Well, I think as I've done this work, Liz, is when I discovered this. Because the thing is, we don't remember these things necessarily. They're just in us. And then when
Mm-hmm.
we start doing this work, it's like, oh my God, I remember that happening. Oh my God, yes, that happened. Right. And you can see the pieces backwards, but it's hard, because it's just a recording, basically a program running in the back of our minds that we don't see.
And I think importantly, what you said is like your dad wasn't trying to be cruel,
No,
but you interpreted it as kind of as meaning. You put some meaning
yes.
into that you internalized over the years.
100%. Like there's things that happen to us, and then there's the meaning that we create about it,
Hmm.
right? So we
Hmm.
make a story up about the thing that somebody said that oftentimes it probably had nothing to do with me, right? It just was something that, I mean, who knows? He and my mom might have had a deal like we're not spending any money, and then he sees something new on me and he's like, wait, is that new? But I can look at that now as a 66-year-old woman and look back and be like, okay, yeah, I got it. But at that time, and the thing is that throughout my life I felt I only deserved at a certain level. Like I continue to do the work around this,
Yeah,
because we're never just fixed, right? Because it's we're evolving all the time, evolving, right? That's what I
ongoing, ongoing.
work. Yeah.
Interesting. So you help women kind of identify maybe some of those places where they have limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
then help them take those beliefs into something that serves them better, that's more powerful for them.
Yeah, we do. So once the belief is there, you can't get rid of it, but you can transform it, right? So basically, what we do is when I work with clients, we'll look at, we'll dig in, right? First, it's an emotion, right? Like I can give some tips here because there's a really great way to do this, at the base level. But we notice what it is, and then it's like, okay, let's flip the switch on that. What if some form of the opposite was true? Let's play with that a little bit, right? And then we work through it, and then eventually we have to work to find some evidence to support this new belief, right? And this it's really a new decision, because beliefs are just decisions, right? We made a decision when we were 3, 4, 5, 13, 25, whatever it is. Along the way we continue, life is just full of little decisions, and then where you end up is based on all those decisions, right? But it can be transformed. It's never too late. That's the good news, because I
Love
didn't
that.
discover a lot of this till I was like, beyond like an age, and still creating. So
Yeah,
that's the good news about it.
I
Here's
love that.
wait,
Our
here's
mind,
I
go
want to
ahead.
give you a tip while I'm thinking about it. So
Yeah.
in our bodies, we feel these limiting beliefs in our bodies, physically. So overwhelm, stress, anxiety, worry, fear, jealousy, boredom, judgment. Those are all like forms of limiting beliefs, right? Because we're making something up. And the thing is, when you feel these things in your body, this acronym, it's not mine. I can't take credit for it. Wait, WAIT. What am I thinking? And so you hit this place like, I'm stressed out. Wait, what am I thinking right now? Well, I'm thinking I'm going to get fired if I don't get this report in, or I'm thinking this guy doesn't like me, or I'm thinking like I'm not going to look good for this. I'm thinking I'm going to be interviewed by Liz Hansen, and what if I screw it up? I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that, I'm thinking this. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, that's kind of made up, right? Or maybe it doesn't feel made up, but like, what if it's not? What if I am making that up? What if some form of the opposite is true? And then you do that exercise I just taught you about flipping the switch on it, finding some evidence to support the new belief. But that weight, feeling it in your body and like stopping yourself. Because we'll just roll into this. I'm stressed out. Oh my God, this. Oh my God, the walls are coming in on me. What am I going to do? You got to stop it when you feel it and be like, okay, let's see if I can transform this myself.
I love everything you just said. I have found mindset work like this to be so transformational. The idea that just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true, doesn't
Right.
mean it's useful, doesn't mean it's the most powerful place for you to be. It's just the thought that your brain has served you up in that moment from a lifetime of patterns,
Yep.
but you can choose a different thought. I've been trying to get my teens to do, I have two teenage daughters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I've been trying to get them, they'll come say something and I'll say, is that how you want to think about this?
Yeah. Right.
And they, of course, they don't always like it when I,
Mom.
yeah, it's so powerful. And on that vein, Debbie, I'm wondering if you could tell us a story of someone that you've worked with in your mindset coaching practice
Yeah.
who maybe had a limiting belief or had something that they wanted to change in their life. And just walk us through a little bit about how you helped or how you coached this person to
Yeah.
make some mindset changes in their life.
I am happy to do that. And then I want to share a story about myself, how I had a coach
Sure.
myself, because it
Yeah.
really
Either,
transformational.
either way.
Okay. One of my clients, she was so I loved the language. She's actually somebody in this group. I'm not going to name her, but she was afraid of a tight. Well, she had a really great business idea. She was doing some amazing things, but she basically was like, I'm afraid of a tidal wave of money coming at me. Now, we're all as entrepreneurs. I want oceans of tidal waves coming at me, right? But the thing is, and the thing is, because I've had this belief before and I have worked to transform it in myself, I could hear exactly what was going on. And when I asked her questions, it turned out that she had had an influx of money in a situation before that, number one, somebody stole money from her, and number two, she didn't manage it well. And so she had this belief that she couldn't manage this tidal wave of money. And so therefore she didn't want it coming in because she wasn't going to be able to manage it. And as soon as she heard, when I asked the question, she heard it, she's like, oh my God, right? And then basically we did the work. I can't remember at this point exactly how we did it, but we transformed that belief into her ability to be able to handle the money, and that trust, and a lot of things we worked on since then. And she didn't want to collaborate with people either. That was all part of the thing. The trust was collaboration. She didn't want to collaborate. Number two was the influx of money. Since we worked together, it was basically like she opened a door. And on the other side of that door were opportunities to collaborate, opportunities to transform a business, opportunities to do all these other projects. She 10x her business, started something else, 10x it again, started something else, 10x it again, started something else. Now she's like writing books and doing all these amazing things, and just creating incredible results. And she told me at one point that I was the catalyst, because I was from here to here for her. And then she had to go out into the world and do the things. But that's the thing. Sometimes we lift the veil. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Now it's like that's there everywhere you look. And so in our lives, we see whatever we believe out in the world, right? And the universe conspires to give you back everything that you believe and every decision you make. I mean, that's just how it is. I could go on forever about this work, because what I discovered, and I'll quickly tell you the story about myself.
Yes.
So I have a beautiful 29-year-old daughter, absolutely great relationship with her, love, love, love her. Probably when she was like 16, 17-ish. I'm in my bathroom at home. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I am judging, judging, judging. I am, and this is after my still in my fitness career and things like that. I'm looking at myself. I'm like, you are like fat. What is going on with your thighs? You're fat. You look like shit. You are worthless. I was going through a big financial disaster. Sorry, something in my eye, some disaster right at that time. You you effed all this up. I mean, just berating myself, right? I
Mm.
might cry when I tell this story because it's so real still. Um, and all of a sudden I had this epiphany. I saw my daughter's face. You've got daughters, right? And my daughter, she can never play poker because her face doesn't lie, right? That's the joke we have about her. I saw her face. If I was speaking to her that way, I am going to cry. And I saw her face just crumble in my mind's eye. And it was like, holy shit, Debbie, I mean, this beautiful, wonderful person, you would never, ever, ever talk to her that way. Why the hell
Never.
do you think it's okay to talk to yourself that way? But, you know, I know a lot of women, this is the voice that we've got in our head all the time, right? Or most of the time, or half the day. It's a continual. And I could promise you that these women would not talk to their children that way. They would not talk to people they love that way. They wouldn't accept people necessarily talking to them that way. I mean, some do, unfortunately, but really, but you think of a loved one and you think of what their face would look like if you said to them what you've said to yourself.
Yeah.
It stops you dead in your tracks.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, I made the powerful decision that day, like, still voices come up sometimes, and I'm like, we're not going there, right? Like, I just stop it. So if that helps even one person that sees this, it's my gift to you because it was magical. Thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. One of the things I read recently too was to remember, I mean, like for example, if you have biological daughters, that they might look like you, for example.
Yeah.
And if you sit there and say, "Oh, I don't like my nose or my hair, whatever," you need
Right.
to realize your daughter might have that same nose, that
Right.
same hair, right? And would you say that about their physical
Right.
features, right?
That's
Like,
really good. Really. Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
mean, like just remember that anyway, so that's really, really powerful. Back to the client story really quick. The
Yes.
idea that there is some sort of fear of success or fear of big things, even if they're good things, fear of change, even if it is good change,
Yeah.
I
Right.
think is so real.
Yes.
I myself can relate to that very deeply. It
Mhm.
may not have been that she was afraid of money, but the size of the money, the size of the
Oh, yeah,
change. Can
absolutely.
I cope with
Right.
a large sum of money, or will I not know what to do with it and not treat the money well and deal with it, right? So how can you take a thought, like what are some ways that you can take a thought like I can't manage a large sum of money. I'm afraid of big changes. How can you turn that into a thought pattern that is more productive? Or how can you make that change? I mean,
Right, right. Well, and of course, each situation depends. Like I said, I can't remember exactly how I worked with her, but one of the tools is really we start with a form of the opposite, right? Like, so let's just go, let's not even talk about money. Let's just talk about granular, like, I'm not good enough. Of course I'm good enough, right? I mean, it's just the opposite. Now, at first, people say it and they're like, well, that's bullshit, right? So I mean, we have to do some work around it. But the
right, your
thing
brain like rejects the opposite
Yeah,
immediately.
because your brain is so used to like, well, that's not true. I'm just making, I'm just saying that. But the big part of it is it's finding evidence to support that new belief, right? So maybe in this very moment, I'm not, educated in how to handle large sums of money. Maybe in the past, I made a mistake about this situation. But that doesn't mean, number one, I can't learn. Number two, that there's not people in my community that can help me. Number three, that just because that person was untrustworthy, that there's not, trustworthy people out there. And then you have to look at the new decision and say, okay, let me make a list of 10 people in my life that I trust. And then you find like, oh, there are people out there I can trust. Oh, let me make a list of, people in my network that have managed those kind of sums of money. Maybe they can teach me something. How many people do I know? Is it possible? So sometimes the evidence isn't true in our lives in that very moment, but there's somebody else that's doing it, right? And so
Mhm.
you have to search for evidence because as I said, we see what we believe, right? If I believe, I'm in the dating world, right? I'm not actually in the dating world, but I'm making an example. If I'm in the dating world and I believe that all guys are jerks, then I'm looking for jerky attitude. I'm going to first be attracted to that because that's what I believe anyway. There's no good guys out there. I'm just going to keep finding them. And every time I find one, it's like, chink, there's another one. Chink, there's another one. Chink, I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. We continue to manifest the exact beliefs that we already have that we want to get rid of. It's kind of like a Scud missile, right? If I believe, you know, I want a great guy, but I'm programmed to go toward a crap guy. It's like, you're going to keep going right for it because it's like you're drawn to it. It's the
Yeah.
programming. So the programming has to change. And again, I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not any of those things. These are some basic things that I've learned.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's made a huge difference in my life. So I
Well,
absolutely love
coaching is
it.
so powerful. I have done therapy. I have done coaching. I have gone to neuro
Yeah.
scientists for my headaches and stuff. And I will tell you, each modality has its strengths. So don't, I mean, I know that you weren't, but like we don't
Oh,
downplay coaching. Coaching
oh no,
has
it's
a
amazing. Amazing.
power that's different than therapy. Therapy's
Yeah,
good, coaching's good, but coaching has really helped me really stop and examine my thoughts and
yeah,
try to say, is that the thought that I want to have?
right.
Because you kind of feel like your
Really
thoughts
quick question.
are, yeah, your thoughts are sort of like inevitable and like the truth. But
Oh,
when you stop, you can say, like, maybe I don't want to think that. And I'm going to think something else. And that has made all the difference for me.
sometimes a good question to ask too is whose voice is that?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times it's not your voice, right? A lot of times my dad's voice telling me like find a man to marry me and take care of me, right? So I believed I couldn't take care of myself, so I had to like count on somebody else. I mean, again, not a bad guy, just an old-fashioned guy, right? But the thing is that we hear these things growing up. He didn't say you can't take care of yourself. I
Right.
may mean that, right? Demi Moore heard you're only a popcorn actress, and she made that mean she would never get an award. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but it was phenomenal. But like, she made it mean I'm not good enough to ever be acknowledged for my work. And so it's just, it's interesting. But and there's women out there now and men that, they're hearing things and it's like, you know, blocked. You're blocked from actually creating what you want unless you lift the veil on it and, transform it.
Yeah. And I feel like the master arrives when the student is ready. And like you were saying with the gal who was afraid she didn't know how to master money, when she decides that she's going to figure it out, she will be able to find the help she needs.
Yeah.
She will be able to find the people in her community, a financial planner, an accountant, a CPA who will help her through this.
Yeah.
But until she is ready in her own heart to manage the money, that help won't be available to her. Because even if the financial planner or the CPA came to her and said, "We're here to help," they wouldn't really truly be able to help her until she was ready to accept the help. Does
Yes.
that make
Right.
sense?
It was
So the
such,
work has to start here,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. And like, we lost touch, not lost touch, but we weren't as in touch as we had been. And then a few years late, a year or something later, I'm just like, oh my God, you're doing all these things. This is amazing. And so, yeah, we reconnected and I got to hear about all these. I mean, she's definitely, a great client that I was so grateful to work with because it was just amazing to see it happen. That's the
Yeah.
fun, right? Just like you get to see the beautiful photos and all the things of what you create, right? It's just when you can see the transformation in people, it's just so,
Yeah.
it's very rewarding.
My favorite thing at the Boudoir studio that I do is when I put up the pictures on the screen and someone says to me, "I've never seen myself like this."
Yeah, yeah,
And I say, "It's been you all along.
right.
You have always had this within you. You are this powerful, beautiful goddess, but you came here and we were able to reveal it to you in a way that you could see it and take it in.
Yeah,
That's just so powerful. I
you
love
do an
it.
amazing job. You do
Oh, thanks.
in this group, I'm going to just chime in about the group because you do such a great job in this group too. So thank you. Thanks for being
I
you, Liz.
love this supportive community that we've built here. It's just really a nice place to be. So thanks for being part of it too. Well, Debbie, I want to hear if do you have anything new or interesting on the horizon that you'd love to tell us about?
Actually. So I am creating it's a one-on-one coaching program. I've done, one-on-one before, but it's kind of got a very specific container. It's 3 months. It's for, professional women who, they're just ready to slay that bully, right? And or they don't even know they've got a bully, but maybe they're not quite where they want to be, or they're just like, hey, Debbie's cool, I want to work with her, right? That works too. um and it is black belt mindset mastery, and so incorporating the principles from martial arts. I, people in this group may not even know it, but I do have a black belt and I used to compete I used to fight. I've competed nationally.
Can I
Um,
just stop and say that is so cool?
oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too, actually. I reffed competitions and taught a lot of small kids and started a program in the Deerfield area where I live. The schools in Deerfield that have martial arts, that was from my dojo, not mine that I own, but the one I came through, and I started that program. So I'm very proud of that. So I'm incorporating the martial arts principles, some of my fitness background, the self-defense, trusting your gut, your intuition, all the things like, raising up just, understanding ourselves and how powerful we are. But it's also going to help people achieve goals. We're going to change the mindset, but it's going to take us somewhere. So when we flip the switch on this, what happens out there in your life? And women understanding their worth, right? And their value, because we lower ourselves and we diminish ourselves. And I'm tired of that, because everybody's freaking amazing that I meet and have so many gifts. And here's a good question, audience. Who misses out? Who loses when you are not operating at your highest potential and giving the world what you have? Because we make it about us. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, this, oh, that. Well, guess what? Somebody needs what you've got, and you're not putting it out there because you're so worried about yourself. So
Yeah.
that's me.
I think I grew up definitely with the idea that my worth came from how much I could give to other people, in the sense that I was only valuable if I was serving other people.
Mhm.
Now, listen, serving other people is good,
Right.
but like you just give,
Mm.
for example, as a caregiver or whatever, and you don't recognize your own value just as an individual yourself, you can't give as much. You can't pour from that empty vessel, right? You can't give from an empty
Yeah.
container, right? And so it took some inner work for me to say self-care is not selfish.
Right.
Taking care of
100%.
my own needs is not bad. Other people will actually benefit more if I take care of my own needs for, and that was actually like a mindset shift I had to do as an adult,
Yeah.
to kind of recognize that my needs weren't bad, because it was always like if you have needs as a woman, that means you're not giving enough, or you're too needy or something. There's something that I had deeply set thoughts about.
Right. There's some beliefs out there, or, there was a little bit of that in my family. Like, if you're thinking about yourself and you're not sacrificing, then you're wrong. Right. And it's like, no, like, how, eventually you're depleting your resources. You can't do it. Right. And yes, serving others is great, but not at the expense of yourself.
Exactly. So, Debbie, we have really enjoyed hearing about what you do. If people want to get a hold of you, we're going to leave your contact information in the comments and stuff, because you are helping women not just in the Chicago area, but nationwide, who can work with you remotely to really change that mindset. And if you are listening to this and you have not done any mindset work or coaching work, like I highly recommend looking into this, working with Debbie, finding out what it's about. When I first heard about it, it sounded a little woo-woo to me, and I'm not a very woo-woo person, but for me, it has not been woo-woo at all. It has been actually very concrete to say, what am I thinking and how are those thoughts affecting my action? Do you, Debbie, view yourself in the like woo-woo world? And I'm not saying that in a negative way.
I know what you mean. Before I answer that, can I remember this thing? Because I'd like to offer your community, the VIP group, a gift.
Absolutely.
Anybody that would like a 30-minute gifted session with me, just, message. My info is going to be in the comments. I was thinking about it. I didn't want to forget it before we came.
Very generous. So like a 30-minute intro call.
Yes. Is it woo woo? It depends on your definition of woo woo, right? Because woo woo is kind of like woo out there in the world, and but it's pretty concrete, in terms of the way our brain works. I I'm in coaching community with people that are like there's some definitely woo woo people in that group that are kind of out in that world. So I wouldn't say it's woo woo. Um, there's scientific basis for how our brain works, right?
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate to learn it, a lot of it in mine. So yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's woo woo at all. I personally, I
Well,
think that anybody that like is struggling in any area of their life, getting some help from an expert, whether that's a coach or a teacher or a mentor or something, it's pretty hard for us to all do what we do alone, right? We don't do it alone. You've got to have support systems. So for me, an empowered woman is somebody that like trusts and believes in herself, but also acknowledges when she's uh, you know, not at the level she wants to be in whatever area, and seek some help and guidance, whether that's a coach or a mentor or a therapist or whatever it could be. Going back to school, it doesn't really matter what it is, but we have to we have to support each other, right, and lift each other up, and we
yeah.
have to um, seek power and support when we need it.
Well, and even what you just said there about women, like recognizing that you want to level up in some area of your life and that you are going to have some help to do it. That takes a little bit of self-courage to do, to admit,
Yeah,
I want to do better in this area of my life,
yeah,
and I'm not going to do it all on my own.
yeah.
And I'm going to have a coach to help me, and I'm
Right.
going to call Debbie. Yeah.
Yes, I like that last part.
Yeah. All right, Debbie, the question we end every interview on here is, what does it mean to you to be an empowered woman in today's world? And you have kind of answered this in a couple
Yeah,
ways, but in a nutshell, tell me a little bit about what that means to you. Because you and I, while our businesses are totally different, I do boudoir and you do coaching and martial arts, we have this same broader, bigger mission, which is to empower women in all areas of their lives. But what does that mean to you to be an empowered woman?
one thing I'd say is definitely, be authentic, right? Be yourself, right? Because there's only one you, just be it. You don't need to be what anybody else is. Um, focus on the gifts that you bring, right? Like what is the value? What are you talented with? What can you do that probably nobody else can do the way you do it, right? And just focus on that. Now you might need to get some help on how to present it to the world. Fine, great, absolutely. um some people have really specific gifts, and but they're trying to be all these other things. I know what I'm not. It's really important to know what you aren't, right? And that's not a bad thing, because we're not everything. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not great at. And I don't try and, understand tech. And I don't try and be a home organizer. And I don't try and, whatever, right? I mean, I don't, those are not my skills and my expertise. So focus on the things you're an expert at and that you love, right, to do, um, without being apologetic about it, right? Like I'm telling you things that I know I'm not good at, not from an apology standpoint, just from a fact, like not my wheelhouse, right? That's not where I focus. As soon as I just started focusing on what I naturally bring to the table, everything got so much easier. And you attract all the things you want that way.
I love that so much.
Thank you.
Focus on what you're good at and attract more goodness as you go.
Yeah. And let some other expert handle the stuff you're not, that's what they're there for.
Yeah. Debbie, it has been so great to talk to you. You bring a light and an energy and an enthusiasm that's really infectious, and I love it. I'm so glad that you came.
Pom poms. You can't really
Oh,
see them.
Debbie has pom-poms.
Well, we were talking about inner critic to biggest cheerleader, so I brought out pom poms from my
Oh, I love that.
Chicago Blitz cheerleading days. Didn't mention that part.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, well, if you're watching this on replay and you want to get a hold of Debbie, we're going to leave her information in the comment section. Thank you again for joining us, Debbie. This is our Live with Liv series to spotlight empowered women who are empowering other women in our area. So if you're interested in being interviewed, get in touch with me as well. Thank you again, Debbie, for being on today. It was so great to chat with you.
Well, thank you so much.